Stay tuned for my divine Canadian vacation book haul. Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Marilyn M for Maya, and I'm so excited about this video because it's my Canadian book haul. I call it divine. I'll tell you why later. And as many of you know who watch my channel, I just came back from visiting Canada and our wonderful booktuber friend, my friend, your friend, Lindy, at Lindy's Magpie Reads. And I had a wonderful time. I went with my daughter, and what did I do? I did something that I don't do very often. I went book shopping at real bookstores. Now, you know I'm a booktuber, so why don't I go book shopping more often? There's a lot of reasons, but the main one is, well, there's two main reasons. One is that we don't have many bookstores in Hawaii, and the other reason is that I live in a rural area where there's no bookstores. And also there's, money. But on this vacation, I was in my element. Lindy introduced me to so many bookstores, and I also went exploring when I was in Vancouver, because Lindy lives in Vancouver Island where Victoria is. It's a little complicated, but many of you who know Canada better than I did before I went, this was my first trip, will know what I'm talking about. There's a bookstore on every corner, a used bookstore, a new bookstore, and I bought new books, which is very rare for me. But let me start first with the books that were gifted to me. So the first one I just want to talk about is actually from Lindy, because we're doing a buddy read with Sarah Wallace from Roadworthy, and it's The Diviners by Margaret Lawrence. And Lindy and I read together Jest of God, which we both loved, and this is the third of her Manawaka series. And I won't we read one chapter, but I won't go really very much into it. But the culmination and completion of Margaret Lawrence's celebrated Manawaka cycle, The Diviners, is an epic novel. This is a powerful story of an independent woman who refuses to abandon her search for love. And we're following Morag Gunn, growing up in a small Canadian prairie town, is a toughening process, putting distance between herself and a world that wanted no part of her. And that's all I want to know, because we just read one chapter so far, but I'm very excited about, and Lindy gave me this book, so I couldn't find it. So thank you, Lindy, and I'm looking forward to our buddy read. The next book is a gift from a beloved subscriber of mine, and this book is Happiness by Rabbi Zelig Pliskin, Formulas, Stories, and Insights. And it's a really adorable little book. I love little books like this. So what is it about? I guess it's about happiness. And the quality of your life is based on your level of happiness. That's true. The value of everything else you have and do depends to a great extent on whether or not it brings you true inner happiness. That is why this guidebook is so precious. In 93 very short, easy to read chapters, this joyous little book takes us on a successful pursuit of happiness. So I'm looking forward to reading this book, or dipping in and out of it. I mean, we can all use a little happiness in this world. The next two books I'm really excited for, because they're brand new books, and I got them in a wonderful bookstore called Upstart and Crow. And I'll have I showed you a picture of this bookstore, but I'll have another picture right here, because that bookstore was just amazing. And we found it on Granville Island, which is in Vancouver, off of Vancouver. And I just love this bookstore so much. So I really decided to spend some money. And the first book that I bought has a story to it, from Lindy. When Lindy went to pick me up, somebody was reading this book on the ferry, and I picked it out before I met Lindy in Victoria, and it's the Postcard. It's a wonderful, wonderful cover. I just love it, and it's by Anne Berest, translated, and I thought I remembered who the translator was because she had an interesting name. Well, no, not, it must be another book. This is Tina Cover, translated it from the French. And it has a lot of accolades on it. It says it's stunning, The New Yorker, compelling, Washington Examiner, a can't-miss novel by Chicago Review of Books, and deeply moving by Leila Slimani. I don't know who she is, so if you know, let me know. So Anne Berest's The Postcard is among the most acclaimed and beloved French novels of recent years. This was translated in English in 2024. So that's why I'm so excited. I don't get to read many new novels that are mine. So it is once a gripping investigation into family trauma, a poignant tale of mothers and daughters, and a vivid portrait of 20th century Parisian intellectual and artistic life. So in January 2003, together with the usual holiday cards, an anonymous postcard is delivered to the Berest family home. On the front, a photo of the Opera Garnier in Paris. On the back, the names of Anne Berest's maternal great-grandparents, Ephraim and Emma, and their children, Noemi, and Jacques, all killed at Auschwitz. And years after the postcard is delivered, the heroine of this novel is moved to discover who sent it and why. So this has everything I love, in that it's a mystery, it's a Holocaust book, and it's true. I don't know if it's 100% a memoir, because someone said in the back that it was a novel, but well, I'm going to find out. So let me know if you've read The Postcard by Anne Berest. She also wrote a book that sounds interesting to me, How to Be a Parisian Wherever You Are, in 2014. I don't know if I want to be a Parisian, but I certainly love Paris. So that might be an interesting book to get. The next book I'm extra excited about, because the owner of the bookstore Upstart & Crow told me that I won't even find this book, which was just translated in 2024 in Hawaii, where a lot of Japanese books are translated into English. And it's called Point Zero by Seicho Matsumoto. He's a master crime writer in Japan. And it says here that Matsumoto pushes the art of the detective story in Japan to new dimensions, depicting Japanese society with unprecedented realism. So what is it about? Tokyo, 1958. Teiko marries Kenichi Uhara, 10 years her senior, an advertising man recommended by a go-between. After a 4-day honeymoon, Kenichi vanishes. Teiko travels to the coastal and snowbound city of Kanazawa, where Kenichi was last seen, to investigate his disappearance. When Kenichi's brother comes to help her, he is murdered, poisoned in his hotel. Soon Teiko discovers that her husband's disappearance is tied up with the so-called Pan girls, women who worked as prostitutes catering to American GIs after the war. Now, 10 years later, as the country is recovering, there are those who are willing to take extreme measures to hide that past. And I asked my daughter what, in Japanese, it's zero seishin. And she lived in Japan, and she studied Japanese in college. And she says, well, it could mean anything. It could mean house. Seishin could mean house. And in Japanese, it's called zero seishin. And it's translated by Louise Heel Kawai. That was the unusual name. And let me show you the the cover. I think it's beautiful with the orange and the lanterns. It does remind me so much of Japan and my 3 years that I spent there teaching. The lanterns and the blinds. Yeah, it was just, I couldn't resist. Irresistible. So that's it for the new books. Now there's a book by, if you know Ruth Reichl. I read Garlic and Sapphires and I loved it. She writes all kinds of books. She writes food criticism. She writes memoirs. She writes all sorts of books relating to food. And one of her famous books is Tender at the Bone. I'm not sure if I read that one, but I might have read it and don't remember. But this is a memoir, and it's New York Times says that so many memoirs annoy by telling either too much or too little. This one tells just enough. It is very difficult to write memoirs, so I'm really excited about this one. I got this at a good price. It's $4.99 by Russell Books, which is less than American money in dollars, American dollars. And this is a sequel to her bestseller, Tender at the Bone. And she returns with more tales of love, life, and marvelous meals. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Let me show you. There's a picture of her. And it's a nice cover. It's not wonderful cover, but she's in nature, so that's always good. So it picks up Reichl's story in 1978 when she puts down her chef's toque and embarks on a career as a restaurant critic. Her pursuit of good food and good company leads her to New York and China, France and LA, and her stories of cooking and dining with world-famous chefs range from the madcap to the sublime. Throughout it all, Reichl makes each and every course a hilarious and instructive occasion for novices and experts alike, and she shares her favorite recipes, which she did in Garlic and Sapphires, and I really got a few good recipes that I really haven't tried because they were a little bit rich, and I'm supposed to be on a health diet, but sometimes you have to indulge. So anyway, that's Comfort Me with Apples. My next book I got for free, and I think I talked about that. I went to a bookstore, and I think we talked about it when I did my the name of the bookstore, which I don't have, but I'll try to have it down below. That was a small bookstore, and he gave it to me for free, which never happened to me before, ever at a bookstore. And it's called Ruta's Closet by Keith Morgan with Ruth Kron Sigal. And Sir Martin Gilbert, who I don't know, says one of the finest Holocaust memoirs. And one thing, I do collect Holocaust memoirs, and what I find very interesting is whatever place I travel to, they have, it's told in the country where I'm traveling to, with a point of view in that, and this does have a point of view of Canada. So Ruta's Closet opens a previously locked door and shines a bright light on a dreadful part of Baltic history unfamiliar to most people. And it's summed up as being like Sophie's Choice, but better in terms of its inspiring message. And it's of Jewish courage and Christian righteousness shine through its pages. But I think I read here that Keith Morgan was born in 1954 in Blackpool, England. He began his career as a reporter for his hometown newspaper in Blackpool in 1975, moving to Vancouver, British Columbia in 1980. So I guess that's the Canada twist to it. And Ruth Kron Sigal was born in Lithuania in 1936. And after the Second World War, she moved to Canada with her family, where she died in December 2008, shortly after the completion of this. So I'm looking forward to reading this. The next book I'm going to talk about is a book I bought from Lindy's life partner, Laurie Macfayden, and it has a wonderful cover. Laurie is a poet as well as an artist, And I haven't read all of these poems, but I love poetry, and I don't read enough of poetry. And this book is called Kissing Keeps Us Afloat. And I only read one poem, and I'm not going to read all of it to you. But she has one poem that takes place in Sylvia's Hotel, one of the best restaurants that my daughter and I went to. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm going to just read you two lines from her first poem in this book. And it's about love, I assume. And it says here by George Eliot Clark, swinging and searing verses, meditative narratives, honky-tonk tunes, and catalogs of favored things, including what lovers bring or leave behind, all merge to make Kissing Keeps Us Afloat a book for tongues and lips to sing. And I just love the first line of the first poem. Things you need to know before giving your heart to a poet. She will want to stay out late, sometimes later than next morning. Pretend to be okay with that. She will frequently be drawn to smoky bars and badly lit stages, cafes. There will be writhing. When she wants to acquire a beret, and she will want to acquire a beret, humor her. I just love this. As someone who attempted to write poetry and did do some spoken word in some smoky bars, I can relate to that, and I love berets, so there you go. So I'm going to have her website down below. Please check out, she has many other books, so please check out her website if you love poetry and kissing in this book anyway. So I'm looking forward to reading that. The next book that I have to talk about is also, it's a mystery, and this is not a new book, but it's new to me, and it's the Aimé Leduc series. It's a mystery. Leduc's City of Light is a stylish, dangerous place. So Cara Black, and this is Murder in the Marais, and it also has a Jewish theme in this book, in this particular book. It's a series. Meet Aimé Leduc, the smart, stylish Parisian private investigator in her best-selling First Investigation. So Aimé Leduc has always sworn she would stick to tech investigation, no criminal cases for her, especially since her father, the late police detective, was killed in the line of duty. But when an elderly Jewish man approaches Aimé with a top-secret decoding job on behalf of a woman in his synagogue, Aimé unwittingly takes on more than she is expecting. And she drops off her findings at her client's house in the Marais. And the Marais is a part of Paris, which was once the Jewish quarter. And I stayed there at my first trip to Paris, which is now partly the gay quarter as well as still the Jewish quarter. And I think the Marais was once a swamp. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm looking forward to this mystery by Cara Black. And she also wrote 3 Hours in Paris. So if I like that, I'm going to look for the other one. The next book is a book that I'm pretty sure, now let me see where, it's a bargain book, Monroe's. Now Monroe was one of the places that Lindy took me to, one of the bookstores, and they had a wonderful, they had some used books, some older books, some new books, and I'm pretty sure that Lindy pushed me toward this book and thought I would like it. She knows my taste. It's called The Unearthing by Kyo Maclear, a store of tangled love and family secrets. An unforgettable memoir. So this is another memoir of, let me give you it almost looks like a shamrock of some kind of plant. But let me see if I can figure this out. An unforgettable memoir of a long-held family secret full of twists and turns interwoven with a personal botanical history. Unearthing is a bold portrait of human relationships and a deeply thoughtful consideration of connection in our fragile and fractured world. When a DNA test reveals that her father who raised her was not biologically related to her, Kyo Maclear becomes a detective in her own life, unraveling the mystery piece by piece in a search tied to the seasons, plant life, and the making of a garden. Yes, I am sure that Lindy brought me to this book, and that it's a memoir, a mystery. No, did I say a memoir? Not a memoir, a mystery, and it has plant life and the making of a garden. That reminds me of Lindy all the way. So what gets planted and what gets buried? Unearthing. So I'm looking forward to reading this. And the last book, well, there's two more books, is a book that I got from my library. So this one is a library haul that was waiting for me when I came back. So I'm going to say it's part of my Canadian haul, which it's not, but just bear with me. Philip Roth, and I don't usually read Philip Roth, a lot of his most famous books, but I did read a few books by Philip Roth that I liked, and this one is a true story, and the other book was based on a true story that I read. And this one is called Patrimony, and it's about his father. So it's a true story, touches the emotion as strongly as anything Philip Roth has ever written. So his father is saying, I don't want to argue with anybody. I never argue. If I tell her something, I only tell it to her for her own good. If she doesn't want to listen, the hell with her. That's the voice of Herman Roth, 86 years old. Widower, retired insurance manager suffering from a brain tumor and fighting death. It's the voice of Philip Roth's most impressible and irresistible hero yet. The vernacular speech of the father who created him and who he now recreates in a remarkable act of memory, elegy, and appreciation. And I started this because I couldn't resist, and I know it's going to remind me, even though it's Newark, and I read another book about the polio epidemic, and I forget I'll have that either up in the cards or down, but it was unforgettable, based also in Newark, about the polio pandemic in Newark. Anyway, this was written in 91, and I think I'm going to enjoy the vernacular or the dialogue in this, and learn more about his father and what fatherhood means to him, because that's what patrimony means. The last book I'm going to talk about is a book that Lindy again pushed me toward. It's called Binge, and it's a kind of book that I didn't think I would really like, because it's sort of micro stories, so shorter than a short story. And at first I thought they were mini memoirs, but they're not. And Douglas Coupland, pretty sure he must be a Canadian author. 30 years after Douglas Coupland broke the fiction mold and defined a generation with Generation X. So I have to look up what that book is about, except that it's about Generation X, I assume. He is back with Binge, 60 stories laced with his observational profundity about the way we live and his existential worry about how we should be living, the very things that have made him such an influential and best-selling writer. Not to mention he's very funny. So I was trying to see if there was I'm pretty sure he's from Canada, but I read a few stories already. Some of them are a little depressing for me, but I like that you can just read a few stories and and see which one you like and put it down and pick it up. So I've been doing that. So that's the end of my Canadian vacation book haul. Wait, everybody, my video just got cut off, and I wanted to say before I left that I want to thank all the wonderful booktubers who have been shouting my channel out for the past week. for some tags that I've been doing or some videos that I'm making. I really do appreciate that. And it would really help out my channel if you would subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell. And I'd love to hear comments from everybody. So until we meet again in another video very soon, I will wish you a wonderful week and aloha.